If I'm going to be spending any time vision boarding, then I want to make sure that I'm getting the best return on my investment. So that's what I want to talk about in today's episode. I want to talk about the 7 mistakes that I have discovered are quite common when it comes to vision boarding and what you can actually do instead. So grab your cup of tea and let's dive into it. Mistake number 1 is what I think is perhaps the most common mistake, and that is creating a mood board instead of a vision board. A mood board is designed to be more aesthetic. It's what usually inspires design ideas, for example. It's to create a style, a feeling, an atmosphere. Whereas a vision board should be much more specific. Your vision board should help you to engage your reticular activating system in your brain. This is what filters out the noise and allows you to focus on those things that you believe are most important for you achieving your goals. It's what I've talked about in previous episodes. For example, if you have a particular car that you want to buy and you know the model and you know the color, you start to see that thing everywhere. And it's not because suddenly more people are driving your dream car. It's simply because you have engaged your brain to pick up when you see that thing more often. You notice it more often because you have engaged your reticular activating system. So make sure that when it comes to you creating your vision board, that you are actually creating a vision board and not a mood board, which leads nicely into mistake number 2, which is to have an unclear vision. Creating a vision board requires you to actually do the hard work. It's about much more than sitting down with your pair of scissors, a magazine, and your favorite cocktail. You have to have done all of the work in advance to know exactly what your vision is. Because if you have unclear or vague goals, then you're going to have unclear targets. You're going to be sitting down with that magazine or collecting your pictures, not actually knowing exactly what it is that you want to put on there. So before you actually spend time creating your vision board, make sure that you spend the time actually writing down your goals first, which leads nicely into mistake number 3, which is not being specific enough. Do you want to travel more? Do you want to be healthier? Do you want to make more money? These are often the kinds of goals that I hear from my personal brand coaching clients. And sometimes it's even much more broader than that. It's that they want to be happy. The problem with that sort of thinking is that it's not specific enough. It doesn't give you that clear target. So if your goal is to travel more, for example, then where is it exactly that you want to travel to? What exact destination? What country? What city? When you want to become healthier, what does becoming healthier actually look like to you? Is it to have a specific way that you exercise? Is it a target weight that you are trying to achieve? What is the metric, or what is that actual thing that it is that you see as being healthy? If you want to, for example, earn more money, then what is that exact amount of money that you want to achieve in that particular year? Have all of these things in mind when it comes to your goal setting, or more than have them in mind, make sure that you have written down your goals to actually incorporate all of these very specific elements. Then when it comes to you actually creating your vision board, you can find visualizations or images of things that actually represent those things more specifically. This is why I don't actually use magazines. I will collect things very specifically from what I can find online that relates to my goals in the best way possible. And you might even have some really great editing skills where you can edit your images to be even more hyper specific to your particular goals. You might even like to do what I do and collect images throughout the year that you think might actually be really great for your vision board in the year ahead. So for example, if I get a particular bank transaction that I would love to see more of, I make sure that I take a little screenshot of that and I save that, knowing that that is something that I can put onto my vision board later on as well. Brian Tracy, in his book Goals, which is actually said to be the best-selling book on on goals ever, talks about 4 elements of visualization. And 2 of those elements is how clearly and how intensely are you able to visualize your goals. Because the more clear, the more vivid, and the more intense that your goals are, the more you are able to have an emotional connection to that thing. And it's going to increase your motivation to achieve that thing. This also reminds me of the absolute classic Think and Grow Rich, where Napoleon Hill says, "If you do not see great riches in your imagination, you will never see them in your bank balance." Mistake number 4 would be to take a set and forget approach to your vision board. Brian Tracy's other 2 elements of his 4 parts of visualization is how long and how often are your visualizations. Because how long you keep that mental picture in your mind actually does matter. When you think about, for example, in business or in your work, when you have created plans, or perhaps in your personal life, when you've created plans, we're often sometimes guilty of pouring a lot of effort into those plans, but then putting them away in a drawer or filing it away and not actually revisiting it again until that next time of the year rolls round. So make sure that you don't take this approach to your vision board. Put your vision board somewhere where you can actually engage with it all the time, where it's something that you can see and be reminded of daily what those goals are. Even if it is somewhere where you only see it for a couple of minutes, this is better than you just having it away somewhere where you don't get to see it daily. I actually have a digital vision board which I create using Canva, and I download it and set it as the backdrop on my laptop. And that means that it's usually the first and the last thing that I see in my work day. I've heard others say that when you look at your vision board or you practice visualization before you sleep, then it's going to help your subconscious to work on those things while you are sleeping. And also when you do this in the morning, it will help you to set that intention for the day that is related to the goals that you have set out in your vision board or in your visualization. This also relates to the idea that neuroplasticity might be at heightened levels in the morning, so you're more likely going to be able to create those neural pathways that will allow you to get from where you are to where it is that you actually want to be. Whatever the way is that you decide you engage with your vision board daily, it is really important to build this into your routine. It also links back to a concept in neurolinguistics programming where it links to this idea of mental rehearsal. And mental rehearsal is a way for you to program your subconscious. It allows you to align your thoughts, your behaviors, and your actions with your desired outcome. My top mistake number 5 is to use the wrong perspective. When it comes to the images that you select for your vision board, the point of view matters more than you might think. So make sure that you are clipping carefully. That's why when it comes to me clipping things for my own vision board, I am very, very specific about how I do this. As I mentioned previously, I use screenshots from my bank, for example, because this is what it would actually look like through my own eyes when I achieve that particular thing. So start to pay attention to exactly the perspective that you would have or you want to have when it comes to you achieving your goals. What exactly will it look like? And capture images that most reflect that thing. When it comes to my vision board, for example, I try and avoid wherever possible using anyone else's faces. And if I do need to use other people, I will try and make sure that it is just aspects of their body where they have a similar skin tone, similar hairstyle, for example, just to make sure that it can, as much as possible, be something that I can visualize that being for myself, and it doesn't look like it is somebody else's goals that I am trying to achieve. And this idea of being this hyper specific wherever you can also links back to the importance of mental rehearsal, because you can create this really immersive and sensory experience for what it is really going to actually feel like when you achieve that goal. What happens when you do this is that your brain then starts to go, okay, well, if that is the thing, then how do I create the pathway to be able to get to that particular thing? It will build those connections for you. Mistake number 6 is to have a static vision board. Now, I haven't personally seen anyone else suggest that this is a common mistake, but it's just what I personally believe works best when it comes to vision boarding. And that is because while I wholeheartedly believe in committing to your goals, I also believe in making sure that you are adapting to your changing priorities or the environment around you. If I look back on the vision board that I created for just this year, there are areas of my vision board where I now tell myself that I actually feel like that's become a comfort zone. And at the start of the year, that was simply just a vision that I was hoping to achieve. And now I have done so much in that particular space, it now has just become a part of my day to day. There are other areas where I know I haven't achieved in that particular thing, but I also know that it is no longer a priority for me. It doesn't align with my values and my beliefs anymore, for example, or my goals. So that is where you can look at your vision board and ask yourself, what is it that still aligns? A year is a long time to be completely committed unwaveringly to particular things as your environment changes. So make sure that as a part of your regular checking in with your vision board, that you're actually also checking in with yourself. How have your feelings shifted? How have your relationships changed? How has the environment around you changed in a way that you want to respond to it? And a lot of this for me actually just links back to almost this Darwinian perspective of things as well, that the people who survive and thrive the most are the people who are able to adapt to their changing environment. And this is why I'm also really committed to having digital vision boards, because it means that if I get a few weeks in or a few months into the year or even later into the year and I find that a particular priority has changed, I can easily just go back to my digital version of my vision board, make those updates and re-download it. Because I certainly don't want to be spending any time every day programming my subconscious with outdated software. Mistake number 7 is not having a plan of action. The law of attraction at its best is about much more than positive thoughts. It's about the action that you take as well. If we go back to Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, he says, riches do not respond to wishes. They respond to definite plans backed by definite desires through constant persistence. So if you think about your vision board being based on your plans and your goals, then make sure that you are taking that vision board and translating that into plans of action. My favorite ways to do this is to use the 12-week year framework, which I've talked about in a previous episode, because this allows you to create a system to be able to action your vision board daily, weekly, and then also measure your progress in that space as well. I also like to use Pinterest to break down my vision board into sub-vision boards and get even more specific in those things. And I talk about this a lot more in my previous episode. So check out that episode if you want to learn more about how I take vision boarding to this next level. Thanks so much, and I'll see you in the next episode.